Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop. All the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
Welcome to Inside Scoop. I'm Catherine Reed, your host, and tonight I'm going to be talking with Dr. Sarah John, who is a fellow Rotarian who happens to be involved in a multi-year mission to Chantal, Haiti. And welcome, I appreciate so much you being here.
Thank you so much for asking me.
So, one of the things that we'll cover as we start this journey to how you got involved in Haiti is to really talk about how Ian got involved in your Haiti mission, and that was 5-6 years ago.
It was a while ago.
And you have your own story about how you got involved with the mission in Haiti, but I saw a presentation you did at a meeting called Brigades, which both of us belong to, and you were talking about having gone down to Haiti to help after the earthquake of 2010, the fantastic earthquake of 2010 that caused not only tremendous damage, but an outbreak of disease, cholera, and things that even after the initial devastation really needed a medical response. So how did you get involved?
Well, at Brigades, as you remember, Dr. Antoine Cornette and his wife ID came within days of the earthquake in 2010. They came and asked Brigades, a grassroots organization, to help gather school supplies and bedding for the children who they knew were going to have no schools and be displaced into tent camps for quite some long time because of the damage from the earthquake. And I gave Antoine a card. I can't go with you now. I'm in the middle of a work contract, but next time you're going to Haiti, let me know and I'll come. And a few weeks later, I get a phone call. Welcome to Chantal. This is Yves-François. Well, I don't know where Chantal is, and I don't know who Yves-François is. And that, as they say, was the beginning of a beautiful friendship. I've been now involved as the lead physician of We Care to Share Chantal, a medical relief team working in this small rural village that's 250 kilometers southwest of Port-au-Prince. And then, once again, Catherine, because of you, I became involved with Rotary, because you kept telling me that Rotary, with its motto of service above self, was a perfect place for me.
I think how I put it was, how are you raising money for this, Sarah? And you were like, well, we're doing this, we've got a website, and I'm like, wow, I've got a much better way for you to raise money. Have you ever heard of Rotary?
I thought Rotary was an old boys club.
And it was, for many, many decades it was.
Well, I'm here to tell your viewers that Rotary is not an old boys club. Our club, the Rotary Club of Centerville and Chantilly, is a lot of fun. It's at least 50% women.
Yes, indeed.
I don't think there are any clubs around the country anymore that are male only. And each club has its own culture, its own interests, its own way of doing things. And in our district, District 7610, every one of the clubs is pretty good.
Yeah, they're wonderful.
They're wonderful.
I mean, we've got more than 30 clubs just in Northern Virginia alone. And you kind of brought to them this level of collaboration that we had not seen in our district. We had not had somebody come and say, I have this international project, which actually is not technically in the Rotary world an international project. We use simplified district grants. But you went to other clubs and you did the footwork, you did the paperwork, you did presentations to all these clubs, all over, and there's 54 clubs in District 7610.
I got a lot of help from you. I got a lot of help from Diane Hill from the Falls Church Rotary Club, who really walked me step by step by step through that first grant that was back in, well, now in 2010. We've done 5 grants. You know, they've been very successful projects, and I'll be glad to talk about each of them in a little while.
Right. Right. So let's look at a little closer at the map of Haiti so that people understand where Chantal is. Chantal is to the west and to the south of Port-au-Prince.
It's 250 kilometers southwest of Port-au-Prince. The road runs along the northern shore of that long peninsula that sticks out, goes over the mountain range, and then along the southern shore to the third largest town in Haiti, Le Cai. And then Chantal is another hour's drive up into the mountains. And I think you have a yellow arrow that's pointing at
right. So
where Chantal
for you
is
to get, so
located.
describe, when you fly into Port-au-Prince, describe your odyssey to get to Chantal.
It's an odyssey. It's a 5 to 8 hour journey by car or bus or pickup truck depending on traffic, depending on the roads, depending on whether it's rained and the rivers are flooded. And now, after this terrible hurricane, it's really quite fraught because the bridges have been washed out and the rivers are still high. And on my trip last week, we were actually unable to drive across one of the rivers. The van that we were in was too low and not a diesel and could not pass. Fortunately, we had a four-wheel drive diesel, and we just loaded everything into the pickup truck and
So it's very remote. It's not easy. I mean, there's not really electricity. No. There's spotty cell connections. I mean, you are getting some information out of Chantal.
Now we are. For the first 4 days after the hurricane, we had no news whatsoever. Finally, Jean-Marie François, who's my translator and a young 23-year-old boy, sent me a single word on Facebook, hello. And as you can see, it still almost puts me in tears. We were so grateful to know that he was alive and that there was someone who could tell us, send us photos, tell us what was going on in the village. Jean-Marie's house was destroyed, as were most of the homes in the village. This is a photo of the entrance to the village. It used to be almost a forest of mangoes and papayas, tall coconut trees, 100-foot breadfruit trees, all of which, by the way, provide food and market goods. This is what's left. It really is a perfect image for Halloween.
Well, you know, it's interesting we talk about the industry on Haiti. That, you know, a lot of people don't know a whole lot about Haiti other than it's an island, it's in the Caribbean. What people do know about Haiti is that they know that there is history of intense poverty there. You know, and so a lot of people have a hard time understanding. It's like, you know, how can we help Haiti when it seems like no matter what happens in Haiti, we can never quite help people to this next level of being self-sufficient?
Well, I certainly hear that frequently. Oh, poor Haiti, they're just so corrupt, they're so poor. But it really is important to step back a couple hundred years and try to understand the context. We all learned in high school about the Declaration of the Rights of Man, 1793. A few years after the French Revolution, the revolutionaries wrote a new constitution, and in that constitution, very explicitly, they outlawed slavery. And they outlawed slavery in all of the French colonies, not only in France itself. Haiti at the time was providing 2/3 of the coffee and almost half the sugar in Europe. It was the wealthiest of all of the French colonies. It was a very important possession. Well, the French colonials weren't too interested in losing their plantations and their slaves. And after a series of revolts in 1804, Haiti declared its independence from France and drove the French off the island under the leadership of Toussaint Louverture, for whom the airport's named, and Jean-Jacques Dessalines. Well, the Napoleonic Wars ended a few years later, and in 1823, Napoleon thought he wanted to get back his goods.
Right.
You know,
so
it was the wealthiest colony in all of the French Empire, even, you know, Southeast Asia, Africa, everywhere. So he sent a bunch of gunboats with 40,000 troops to reclaim the island. Well, in order to avoid a war, not even 20 years after they gained independence, the Haitian government was forced into a treaty with France, agreeing to pay them 150 million gold francs in 1823. That was eventually negotiated down to 93 million gold francs. In today's dollars, that's $21 billion US. When was it paid off? I was already walking. 1947 is when the French debt was completed. In 1951, our friend Duvalier was elected president. And Duvalier, by the way, was trained at the CIA School of the Americas, and all of those goon tactics that he was famous for, he learned, unfortunately, from us. Duvalier and his son, Jean-Claude, Baby Doc, stole maybe $100 million. Compared to $21 billion, it was a drop in the bucket. So the problem in Haiti wasn't really about corruption. Yes, there are government problems.
It was about long-term debt. I mean,
long-term debt.
1823 to 1947.
Yes.
Yeah, like that's a long time to be paying off. And as the economy changes, and as that debt, the values of the dollars or of the francs change,
it just increased.
Right, like this is the world's worst payday loan.
It was terrible. And to make matters a little bit worse, in 1991, Bertrand Aristide, who had been elected president, went to the World Court and asked the French to make reparation, to pay that money back because it was unconstitutional by the French Constitution. And unfortunately, he was immediately whisked out of power with charges of corruption, which were later dropped. Similarly, they've had a number of other disasters. In 1981, the southern pork industry here in the United States became alarmed by rumors that there was swine fever spreading through the Caribbean. And they forced the Haitians to murder all of the Creole pigs, which were livestock. If you own a pig and you're a farmer, that livestock represents your wealth. That's your savings bank. The Creole pigs were all slaughtered. There was no swine fever. Then there was the rumor that if you went to Haiti as a tourist, and they had a vibrant tourist industry, as beautiful as Mexico, as beautiful as the Dominican Republic, their beaches are spectacular. Well, if you went to Haiti, you would catch AIDS. So the tour ships stopped coming.
Holy cow.
1981 was swine fever. 1983, the AIDS scare. Imagine the devastation that causes to a country, right, to lose all of their sources of revenue. And then in 2010, we have the earthquake.
And that's when that really put Haiti on the radar for most of the people who are still engaged in trying to figure out how to help that country. But I think it's very helpful to hear from you the backstory of this very, it seems almost an unsolvable poverty situation in Haiti.
And it's very well documented, and there are some wonderful, very readable books. They almost read like novels. There's one by Laurent Dubois, which is probably the classic. It's called The Aftershocks of History. The other one is by Dr. Paul Farmer, who is a physician at Harvard, who is the founder of Partners in Health. And he wrote a book called The Uses of Haiti. And all of his writing is just readily accessible, but this book really gives you the feel for that history and its impact on a modern society today.
Well, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more with Dr. Sarah John about what's going on in Haiti and how you can help get involved and how we can address the problems that are very immediate in the village of Chantal in Haiti. So please join us after this break.
Art, a universal language, an expression of culture, of self. And now, thanks to Empowered Women International, a way for emerging and established immigrant and refugee artists and artisans to find hope to earn a living while enriching the lives of all of us. Empowered Women International, making a better America every day. For more information on Empowered Women International's educational programs or to make a tax-free donation, contact cfrip at AOL.com.
You'd think it would be easy to tell which kids have trouble with their eyesight. But that's not always the case. Even though 1 in 4 children may have a vision problem, eye doctors tell us the symptoms aren't always so obvious. We do know that 80% of all childhood learning is visual, And without good vision, kids can have trouble learning to read and may fall behind in school. For clues on how to spot the real-life signs of childhood vision problems and what parents can do, visit checkyearly.com. A public service message from the Vision Council of America and Reading is Fundamental.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Welcome back to Inside Scoop. I'm your host, Catherine Reed, and joining me tonight is Dr. Sarah John. Both of us are Rotarians in the Centerville Chantilly Club, and she's going to talk a little bit about the work that she's been doing since 2010 in Chantal, Haiti, which is a rural village in the remote western part of Haiti. On the screen you see here what is left of part of the Chantal, Haiti village. We, over the last 5 years as a Rotary Club, have been doing projects to improve and enhance the quality of life in Haiti, but after Hurricane Matthew, you can see the catastrophic devastation that's taken place in this village.
It is simply beyond imagining. It's much worse than after the earthquake. At least in Chantal, it's much worse than after the earthquake. And quite frankly, I think the devastation is more total than it was even in the outskirts of Port-au-Prince after the earthquake. This is akin to what happened in Carrefour-Léogâne, the epicenter of the quake. We've done a number of projects in Chantal since 2010 in collaboration with Rotary clubs in District 7610. And until this storm, Chantal was, although very poor, it was a thriving rural village. In fact, it was in such good shape that we were thinking about moving our medical team to an adjacent village where they weren't quite as self-sufficient. We were really almost at the point of self-sufficiency in Chantal. I've been traveling to Chantal for the last, now almost 7 years with We Care to Share Chantal, a 100% volunteer medical team whose goal was to provide medical self-sufficiency in the village. And we are all volunteer. We come from all over the United States. We are non-sectarian, although our 501c3 piggybacks under the Colombian Service Association of Sacred Heart Catholic Church in Okeechobee. We don't proselytize. We're multi-faith. We have team members who come from Canada. We've had team members from Russia, from the United Kingdom, one woman from South Africa. And we see about 3,000 to 4,000 patients on every trip, totally free of charge without regard to age, gender, religion, ethnicity, or racial background or religious background. We don't proselytize and we don't charge our patients. We provide everything free of charge with, by the way, the assistance of Brothers Brother Foundation, which has a warehouse right here on Prosperity Avenue and is always looking for volunteers to help them repurpose the supplies that they get. So
I know one of the first missions that you did through Rotary, it was very much focused on medical treatment and dental treatment. I remember, we had such an outpouring in this community for used medical equipment, dental chairs. Stretchers, I think, was one of the things.
Our very first Rotary Club grant that Diane
helped us to
walked me through was to provide the medical supplies for one of the medical missions, as well as a permanent dental chair and a portable dental chair for the village, which at that time was using a table for the dental care, literally laying them on a metal table.
I remember you showing us the pictures of, in a church, very
Those chairs, by the way, are still in use, and they did manage to survive the hurricane. They are still there and still functioning. That was a Rotary Club grant where Rotary Club of Centerville and Chantilly partnered with 4 other clubs. The next year we had another, at that time, District Simplified grant, and this time we were very fortunate to have 11 clubs partner with us on a project for the adjacent village of Canon. Canon is further into the mountains than Chantal, but in that same general region. It had no electricity at all. There are electric wires and poles, but there's no
way to generate the power,
There's
right?
Simply
There's no way to
power.
generate the power, right?
They're not on the grid, although it looks as if they should be. And as a result of that grant, There are now electric light bulbs in every classroom. Now, you wouldn't think that one electric light bulb is so revolutionary, but on a pitch black day,
Yeah, cloudy, rainy day, yeah.
or at night,
Yeah, you can
it's
use the
truly
space at night.
eureka, let there be light. And there's also a street lamp that now provides a gathering place for kids in the evening. They can play basketball or they can do their homework. And there's a light inside the church so that they can hold community gatherings. The church is really the only civic structure in Kenall. And so this really revolutionized village life. We installed 200 solar panels. The following year, we had 18 clubs, really amazing. And we installed a pediatrics room for the local dispensary. Brothers Brother Foundation provided the hard goods, the furniture, the stretchers, the lamps, and of that nature. And then last year we had another 11 clubs on a grant to provide a bathroom for the boys and a separate bathroom for the girls.
And that's very important.
Oh, you have no idea. This was after cholera.
Right.
Actually, I got the grants reversed. That was before the pediatrics ward. It replaced absolutely the most dismal latrines you have ever seen, a 4-holer for 900 children, which was overflowing into the surrounding village every time it rained. So now they have bathrooms with toilets and a shower so that girls can be retained in school. They don't have to leave school if they get their periods and go home to change in embarrassment. Right. They have privacy from the boys. They have literally a bathroom instead of a door that everybody knows you went in and out of. And that's really a wonderful event at the school, and that has survived the hurricane. Unfortunately, this year's grant, which had 11 clubs on it again, was to rebuild and restructure a school kitchen that was just open-air braziers on the ground, charcoal braziers. The goal was to provide a more sanitary way to cook food so the flies and the goats weren't in the food, but also to introduce solar cooking to the village to reduce air pollution and respiratory problems. Right. And unfortunately, that project was virtually destroyed by the hurricane. There's a solar cooking component which will still occur. The solar cooking instructors from Solar Cookers World International Network are traveling from Idaho and California with the medical relief team in January, and they're going to do a week-long workshop on solar cooking.
And I will interject here to say that your mission trips are in January.
Yes.
You made a recent trip just a little over a week ago.
It was a fact-finding trip,
right,
yes.
Fact-finding. But usually the mission is in January, where you ask for volunteers, and you usually go in June.
Oh, yes, we need doctors, dentists, and pharmacists for January 22nd through 29th to help with the medical relief team. I usually go in June or July as well, and we do some community meetings and make sure that the children we sponsor for school, that those other projects are going well. But we will be returning to Chantal in January in spite of the damage from the hurricane. And the damage from the hurricane is simply beyond catastrophic.
Right, so we're basically talking about homes. You were talking about the fact that there are a number of schools. Even in a poor village, there are a number of schools, but I think you're down to one.
There were 11 schools in the village, and we have some pictures that I think will illustrate it very well. The only one that is currently functioning is the school operated by the Missionary Sisters of the Immaculate Conception. The priest school was going to try to resume this week. They have another 900 students. The public school, which had 2,000 to 3,000 students at various grades, is unusable. It's an open shell to the sky. And I couldn't find any evidence of the other schools. There had been 11 in the village, serving 7,000 school students. In addition to the loss of the schools, the churches have been devastated. They've lost their roofs. Some of them are completely imploded. So they don't provide shelter because they don't have a roof or a ceiling under which people can obtain shelter. It's the rainy season. It is still raining. It rained for 4 days after we left last week. I'm hoping 2 of our team members are going back down on Wednesday, and I'm hoping by the time they get there, maybe the rain has stopped. is going to be a very long time before it dries up. And recovery from this hurricane is going to take several years. To start with, all of the crops have been destroyed and all the livestock is gone. The goats, the pigs that ran in the street all the time, there's no evidence of them. The roosters, unfortunately, are still crowing at dawn and all night long. I don't know how they managed to survive the storm. The crops are gone. The breadfruit and mango trees and coconut trees, as you saw in that first picture, were just
decimated. Like, I don't even know how those trees are going to recover or how long it will take.
Won't. A coconut tree takes 6 to 7 years before it can bear coconuts. Banana trees, 2 to 3 years. I don't know the fruiting lifespan for mangoes or for breadfruit. But not only did these provide food for the villagers, they also provided them with market crops.
Right.
And this region was the breadbasket for the rest of the country. So food insecurity is going to be a really big problem.
Right.
But the first needs are really the core human needs: shelter, food, and water. So I'd like to show the viewers some of the pictures that we have showing what's happened in the village.
You had mentioned Jean-Marie.
Yeah, Jean-Marie's, he's a kid that I sponsor for college, actually. He's going to agronomy school, but he really wants to be a lawyer. Jean-Marie, when I met him, was 16. He's now 24 years old. He's my translator when I'm there. I don't speak Creole, and my French is pathetic. And Jean-Marie's home was destroyed in the hurricane, and that photo was of him standing in the ruins of his home. These girls are children that I sponsor for school. Every child has to have uniforms and books. So if their family is too poor to buy the school books, then they can't go to school. So everyone on the medical team sponsors dozens of kids. And these two girls are among my entourage. And I asked them, you know, how scary was it during the quake? And they're going, oh! And then I said, I'd be screaming. And they start laughing. And I said, so where do you sleep? And they said, dehors, outside. They're in the rain. And I think we have a picture of one of them standing in the doorway of her home. And this is what's left of her home. As your viewers can see, there's no roof on this house. It's open to the sky. The mom actually works in the dispensary, and she was very gracious to allow us to come in and actually take a photo of the inside of her house. Houses in this village are not very grand. Her home is about 12 foot by 12 foot square. It's divided into 3 small rooms and then has a tin roof. A middle-class home might have a little bit larger footprint. The devastation didn't seem to sort between.
No, it just knocked down
people.
Everything pretty much.
Yes. And I think we have another photo showing, I'm not quite sure where we are on the pictures. This is one of the primary schools. As you can see, there's no roof. It has nothing inside of it.
But when we come back, I will take a look at more of these pictures. Okay. So please join us. Sarah's got more photos to show us, more things to tell us about Chantal, Haiti, and how you can help in trying to alleviate some of this suffering.
Hi, I am Peggy Knight, and I'm with the League of Women Voters of the Fairfax area, and I'm here to share information about Election Day with the viewing audience of the Fairfax Public Access Television area. Election Day is Tuesday, November 8th. Do you know that you can vote for more than just the president and the vice president? Every representative in Congress is up for election this year. But that's not all you can vote for on Election Day. There are 2 proposed constitutional amendments for Virginia. There is a meal tax referendum, and there are 3 separate bonds to vote on. For more information about these issues and the candidates, go to vote411.org. Remember, Election Day is November 8th, and your vote is your voice, and every vote counts.
There's more than just books at the library.
There's more than just books at the library. Excuse me.
There's more than just books at the library. I know.
There's more than just books at the library.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Welcome to Inside Scoop. I'm your host, Catherine Reed. Joining me tonight is Dr. Sarah John. Both of us are Rotarians in the Centerville Chantilly Rotary Club. And we have been working for the last 5 years to support a village in western Haiti called Chantal. It was devastated by Hurricane Matthew several weeks ago, and Dr. Sarah John is here to tell us a little bit about the village, about the destruction in the village, and to help shed some light on not just the disaster relief that's taking place, but good disaster relief management practices. So tell us what we're looking at with this particular house.
Well, Catherine, this is a photo of Gilbert Fortunet's home. Gilbert is our bus driver, and this was his mother's home. It was a middle-class home, actually, and she's actually standing in the back of the house. Adjacent to it, you can see just the edge of a pile of rubble. That was his grandmother's house. She was killed when the roof fell on her.
Oh, no.
And the house is now nothing except a pile of rubble. His mother's house has a foyer that still has the beautiful tile floor on it in the front of the house, and then the rest of it is just open to the sky. She's smiling, they're happy, they're just matter of fact about it, but they say they don't know how they're going to rebuild. The next picture shows Father Goose, who is the priest at the Catholic Church. He's inside what was a community building. We did all of our medical triage there, and it served as a gathering place for the village. You can see the reflection of the window on the rainwater that's on the floor, and it obviously isn't going to be serving as a community building, much less as a shelter from the next storm or from, the daily rains. It is the rainy season. And that type of devastation is throughout the entire region, if not only in this village. So we've been, as we care to share, we've been collecting funds that are being used to purchase roofing tin in Haiti, in Lacaille. We are finding the very poorest region of the village with the poorest families, so that we don't provide tin to somebody who has a wealthy family in Michigan who can provide them with supplies. And that photo you just had up showed a man picking up his supply of roofing tin using a voucher that we gave him that he can then take to the hardware depot where the truckload of tin has been delivered. And he can take it home and then with his neighbors and his family install it. This photo shows one of our volunteers, Edgar Bedoya, who's from Florida, with the homeowners for this house, which as you see is missing its roof. And this is a very standard Haitian dwelling, concrete with wooden doors. The roof is completely gone. The rubble that's there in the yard is what was left of their home. And so all of his worldly goods are gone, and the voucher for tin is going to allow him to repair his roof. Because we were there with some volunteers, we helped him do the carpentry, and these are the guys fixing the framing for the roof. This ridgepole was actually hand-hewn with a machete out of one of the coconut trees that fell across his house. And they sat and built this lumber that you see in the photo and the ridgepole by hand using a machete, not even an axe or saw. I mean, it's an incredible amount of labor. And then eventually, as you see the debris, the old roof and the broken furniture and everything else, they'll eventually have to clear that to make it habitable again. And you can see the rain clouds in the distance. It rained every day we were there working. And here we have him, the homeowner, his family, and two of our Care to Share volunteers helping him to rebuild it. And they've almost got the new roof laid up. This little boy is a 15-year-old boy who actually walked 2.5 hours into the village because he had heard that we were coming, and he wanted to know if he could help. He really wanted to know if we might have some food for him. So we made sure he got breakfast, lunch, and supper, in addition to some pay. This is the roof almost restored, and now this family, after 2 weeks and 4 days of being out under the weather, will finally have a dry place to sleep. They'll be on the floor. Their mattress is ruined. They'll eventually rebuild. And so that's what we've been doing. Last week we had the roofing tin for the first 35 houses. We would like to repair approximately 1,000 houses. There were 90% of the homes in the village and in the surrounding hamlets were completely destroyed. They looked like Gilbert's home. The remaining 10% look pretty much like this house, and they need roofing tin and lumber and the nails in order to rebuild. I think something important is to know that we are giving vouchers rather than having a truck show up and have a swarm of people mob that truck. We want to make sure that the vouchers go to the people who are the neediest, who don't have expats who can provide them with supplies. But also, there have been 2 very tragic deaths just in this past week. A 16-year-old girl who was trampled in a mob running to a truck for supplies, and a 21-year-old who was run over, unfortunately, by another truck convoy. So we try to avoid that. We're on the ground in the village, and we know the people to be able to do direct distribution. We did purchase a ton of rice. These are 50-pound bags filling, as you can see, a garbage truck. And we also purchased 24-pound bags of pasta. This is Father Eve, who heads our medical relief team. The first time I met him, he was in that same wife-beater T-shirt and shorts and holding a beer. And I'm going, this is a priest?
Well, there you go. That's his mission.
And he is
how
wonderful.
He dresses for it.
So we formed a bucket brigade, brought the food inside, and divided it up into packages to give to the 300 families that are sponsored for school, because we know that they are among the poorest. And once again, here's Edgar and my friend Jean-Marie, and they're registering and signing in the families who will then receive a voucher for those packages of food. Father Eve is going back to Chantal tomorrow night, actually, to do exactly the same thing with the next funds that we have been able to receive.
So let's talk about the funds, because you have mentioned before that this is an all-volunteer organization. So when people donate $100 or $500 or $1,000, that money is going directly to supplies,
100%.
food, building materials, medicines, or whatever it is that is directly needed by the people in this village.
100%. Our medical relief team is 100% volunteer. We have no overhead, no paid, well, we have overhead, but no paid overhead, and no paid staff members. All of the work is done by the volunteers, and the overhead that I just mentioned, we pay our own way. We pay for our own supplies. We purchase them from Blessings International or through fundraising drives, and again through the generosity of organizations like Brothers Brother Foundation. Every dime of relief goes to direct hands-on assistance to the people who are the very neediest in the community.
So talk a little bit about, delivering goods into the country versus purchasing things within the country. The fact that, when people hear of disaster relief, a lot of times they want to send clothes or send things into the country, when in fact monetary donations help you decide what can be purchased in country that helps their economy, instead of there being all of these goods and supplies airlifted into the country.
Well, it's 2 pieces. It's essential to do as much as you can economically, within the country. We do not want to undermine their agricultural system by bringing in boatloads of rice, as happened in the 1980s. Bill Clinton calls it the biggest mistake of his presidency. We don't want to put small businesses out of business by bringing in goods so that they don't have a market. At the same time, because we know that these funds represent very generous donations from folks around the world, we want to make sure that those are used as expeditiously or as efficiently as possible.
Efficiently.
So when we are, for instance, buying medication for a medical relief mission, we literally do dose by dose price comparisons between Haitian vendors, mission supply vendors here in the U.S., and other sources. We do always end up also asking for in-kind donations of the over-the-counter goods so that the funds can be used to purchase pharmaceuticals.
Because shipping is a huge expense, and so that's the other factor. When you take things down there, and you've been very clear with our club about in-kind donations, like no paper, don't send paper. You know, send pens or pencils, right? Send medications like antifungals or vitamins or analgesics, but don't send things that are heavy. Don't send things where the cost of the shipping negates.
No Michael Jordans, please, or Air Jordans, whatever those shoes are. They're 10 pounds a pair, and you know, that's shipping money. That said, we also know that there will be a huge need for shoes, for sandals, for lightweight shoes, summer sandals, flip-flops. People are barefoot on pieces of broken tin. Excuse me, there will be a need for some clothing assistance. There will be a need for a new computer and new printers and items that we can purchase more cheaply here. So we have to be very judicious and do a great deal of planning. Right now, again, the core needs are shelter, food, and water, and those supplies can be economically purchased in Haiti, boosting their economies and their small businesses, and not also coming in with the, let's pat ourselves on the back, we are the do-gooders. We don't ever want to be the ugly Americans arriving in Chantal. And last week I had a terrible experience with some U.S. Marines who were exactly that arrogant when they came running in with, as it happened, no supplies and no assistance, but with quite an attitude. They came very close to destroying the only link to the outside. They insisted on driving a car across a pedestrian footbridge, having been told not to do it.
And that is a problem.
Nobody tells me what to do.
And that is, I think, you know, I think that is a problem. I think a lot of world relief organizations who do this long term have understood that you have to go in, listen, sit with the people who live there, and ask them what they need.
Exactly, and ask them how they think we can best serve them. We are there to serve. We are not there to be
saviors. I mean, it has to be collaborative.
And we're their guests.
Yes.
And it's really important to realize that we are their guests. It's a country that has a very proud history. The most illiterate peasant knows that history. And we are there to help them because we have the ability and the time and the heart to do it.
And the resources too, but you have to leave people with their dignity.
Absolutely.
And acknowledge the fact that they know something about where they live, how they live, and what needs to be done, right?
And they're our friends.
They are. When we come back after this break, we're going to finish up our final segment. We're talking a bit more about specifically what we can do to help the people in the village of Chantal, Haiti. Again, we have supported them for a number of years, and we want to see them through this catastrophic situation in their country.
I need a job.
Necesito trabajo.
I would like to speak English better.
Me gustaría hablar inglés mejor.
I want to be a U.S. citizen.
Quisiera ser ciudadano de los Estados Unidos.
For over 35 years,
Por más de 35 años,
the Hispanic Committee of Virginia has been serving our community.
el Comité Hispano de Virginia ha estado sirviendo a nuestra comunidad.
Job training and placement,
Capacitación, ayuda para conseguir trabajo,
education for children and adults,
educación para niños y adultos,
immigration, naturalization, and medical referrals.
ayuda para los procesos de inmigración y naturalización y orientación sobre médicos
Are a small part of what we do.
son solo una pequeña parte de lo que hacemos.
For help, information, or to volunteer,
Para ayuda, información o para ofrecerse como voluntario,
contact the Hispanic Committee of Virginia,
comuníquese con el Comité Hispano de Virginia,
helping everyone participate more fully in American society.
ayudando a todos a participar plenamente en la sociedad norteamericana.
Hey, Lena, where's yours?
Would you notice if you were missing half your kidney function? According to the National Kidney Foundation, 20 million people have chronic kidney disease, and 20 million more may be at risk and not even know it. Anyone with high blood pressure, diabetes, or family history of chronic kidney disease is at risk. Early diagnosis is vitally important. To get the whole story, talk to your doctor and visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org or call for a free brochure. Because when it comes to chronic kidney disease, you might not know the half.
We're back to the Inside Scoop. Here again, your host.
Welcome to Inside Scoop. I'm your host, Catherine Reed. Joining me in our final segment tonight is Dr. Sarah John, a fellow Rotarian in the Rotary Club of Centerville and Chantilly, who's been working for the last 6 years in Chantal, Haiti, to assist that village post-earthquake of 2010 and now post-Hurricane Matthew. Thank you so much for being here, Sarah.
Well, thank you for letting me come.
So we were talking about, some of the relief efforts, and you have prioritized it very well. It is Maslow's hierarchy writ large in that it's about clean water. It is about shelter. It is about medical attention. We haven't talked very much about diseases like cholera, but I know that is something.
Cholera is back. Cholera was initially introduced in Haiti the year after the earthquake, unfortunately, and I'm sure inadvertently, by some East Nepalese peacekeepers who came with the UN. They were trading out with the Chilean peacekeeping team, and the sewage system overloaded and leaked into a stream up in the Artibonite, a more northern region of Haiti. Since that time, there have been thousands of deaths. Chantal had over 100 deaths from cholera. The last one, until the storm, the last one was over a year and a half ago, knock on wood, and we're hoping that
you kind of shut that down.
Unfortunately, they've already had a resurgence of cases of cholera out on the peninsula. We're quite concerned that there will be much more cholera as well as typhoid because there's lots of standing water and there's been lots of sewage overflow. Chantal has unfortunately had one case reported to me. I haven't documented that, but I've been told anecdotally that there was a case last week after I left the village.
So what is the protocol? How do you approach knowing that is an imminent threat specifically?
Well,
what is
the Ministry
of
Public Safety, Public Health in Haiti is doing an aggressive vaccination program against cholera. They were actually there planning the vaccination campaign with Sister Mona, who runs the local dispensary for the government. They are aggressively working on that. After the epidemic several years ago, there were even cartoons. Everywhere you looked, it was sort of like graffiti everywhere. There were cartoons that very explicitly showed, you have diarrhea, take him by the hand, take him for medical care, wash your hands, use soap and water. Well, of course, right now, soap and clean water are a scarcity. But people are very, very conscious of the risk of cholera, and it's one of the reasons that people are as upset as they are about not having access to clean water. Unfortunately, because of 25 to 40 inches of standing water from the storm, there's been a lot of contamination of wells and of the local pipe. Fortunately for us in Chantal, the deep well that was sunk at the dispensary grounds, the pump handle, it's just an old-fashioned farm pump. The pump handle was not damaged by the storm, and so villagers are coming there and filling containers, even trucks filled with containers, to take clean water back to their homes and to their outlying areas because that water is okay. However, when I asked Sister Mona, do you think that well is really good? She said, well, the people drink it, but I don't. And she's using big bottles of Culligan water. So one of the needs is for water purification supplies, water purification tablets or aqua tabs or aqua drops, also for filtration systems. And there are some organizations that are beginning to work with the village to try to bring that in. Unfortunately, although, of course, my concern is Chantal, Port-à-Piment, Port-Salut, Jérémy, Damery, Les Rois, Beaumont, all of the communities that are on the end of the peninsula are in similar straits. That said, of course, my interest is in Chantal, where we do have a relationship on the ground with trusted partners. where we know that the aid that we're providing is actually going to go directly to the people that we intend it to get to, without some of it being saved for future disaster, like some multinational organizations that I won't mention are infamous for having done, without any rake-off for a fancy office in New York or other suchnesses. But there are similar groups to mine here in Northern Virginia, as a matter of fact, working in other communities in Haiti. As far as I know, we are the only one out on the peninsula. There is a large team, Community Coalition for Haiti, that works in Jacmel, which is due south of Port-au-Prince, and did not have as much damage. There are a number of organizations that are working in various communities, Thomasy, Kinche, various places in the northern and central portions of the country. But as far as I know, we are the only one to the west of Lakai.
So one of the things we were talking about too is the strides that we had made over the last 5 years in providing things that, at one point probably would have seemed like unimaginable things, and one of those was computers for the village.
We had, through the help of Bethany Church and Literacy Volunteers of Warrenton, we had supplied 40 laptops and there were more in the pipeline. Our goal was to have computers, laptops to teach internet skills to every one of the schools in Chantal. We had supplied 3 of the schools. And last year, one of the really miraculous dream come true, fantasy dream come true, of last year's Rotary Club grant for the pediatric ward was the supply of a sonoscope ultrasound.
Right, the ultrasound machine, yep.
Unfortunately, the ultrasound machine and all of the computers were totally saturated by Hurricane Matthew. We're going to bring them back to the United States in the hopes that some of the components can be rescued, but they're a total loss in terms of being used, which is heartbreaking, as if there wasn't already enough heartbreak to go around. So, we thought we were, as a medical relief team, going to maybe move to Boma or one of the nearby communities, but we're back to
having to rebuild.
We will rebuild. Haiti, the Haitian government likes to say the earthquake is gone. The recovery from the earthquake was really remarkable. It was accomplished within a few years compared to Katrina here in the United States, where New Orleans still has a mess. There was no evidence of the earthquake left in Chantal. But unfortunately, we're back to square one, and we did it then and we'll do it again.
And so schools really are very important. As you mentioned before, a lot of people don't realize in this country that even though it's a public school, you do have to pay a fee for uniforms and for books. And so not every child can go to school if their families can't pay the fees.
Well, in the United States, Fairfax High School has a budget for books. And if a bunch of kids hate geometry and they mark all over the book and they tear out the pages, the school replaces the book. Because of the limited budgets in Haiti, instead of the school having to spend fortunes doing that, the student buys his books, and then those books become family property that are passed down to the next child and the next child and the next child. Uniforms are expected. Kids come to school, even after the hurricane, pristinely dressed. The minute they're out of school, they're out of that into the other t-shirt or dress they might wear and their bare feet. But their school uniform is always immaculate. If they come to school without it or it's not clean, they're asked to go home, because education is really important and it engenders a sense of respect for the school and for the teachers. When I was there last week, the kids were showing up. Unfortunately, the professors were not able to get there. And they were sitting in the classroom waiting for the teachers that weren't coming day after day. But they were there and they were ready for school. To be able to get an education is a miracle. It opens up entire worlds of possibility for these students, and we will definitely work to continue to get computers back there.
So that's, again, I'm referring to I love Maslow's hierarchy of need. It kind of explains everything in the world to me. And so once we get shelter, once people have clean water and food, once we have beaten back cholera and some of the other medical issues that are a result of Hurricane Matthew, we will turn our attention back toward the rebuilding of the schools.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's simply critical. We want, in the modern world, people have to have those skills. And I have to give a big shout out to Mark Zuckerberg, because were it not for Facebook, we wouldn't be able to communicate with people down there to learn what's going on now. We also wouldn't be able to do some of the really important fundraising for recovery that we need to do.
I think that's really been the amazing thing after the hurricane in 2010. It was the first time social media became very critically important in both getting information and in pictures and people's accounts of what was happening, but also people realized that you could donate $10 through your phone, you could donate $10 through an online fund, and suddenly all those $10 added up to millions of dollars. And so after Hurricane Matthew, we're a little bit more savvy than we probably were back in 2010. And so we have set up a GoFundMe page, but there are other ways that people can donate, including through the Rotary Foundation.
Yes, and no amount is too small, and of course no amount is too big. If someone wins the lotto and would like to donate it, we have a use for it. But small dollar fundraising, small dollar donations have been very, very effective, and we are grateful for literally every penny that comes in. And so the best way to help the victims of Hurricane Matthew in Chantal is to either send a check to the Rotary Club Foundation of Centerville and Chantilly. Do we have something with the address on it or not?
I don't know
because
if we do,
I know the address. It's Post Office Box 224104, Chantilly, Virginia 20153. For people who prefer to donate online, we do have a GoFundMe campaign. The address is gofundme.com/Chantal, Haiti.
Hyphen.
No,
hyphen
it is.
Haiti. No, it's hyphen.
It is?
It really is hyphen. I double checked that.
Oh, you did?
It's
okay,
hyphen
because I've
Haiti.
been putting comma on everything. Oh, thank you for fixing it.
But I will say this too. The Rotary Foundation is a 501c3, so when people donate, they will get a letter saying that the donation is it can be claimed on their taxes as a charitable donation, all of it. And so that's something else for people to keep in mind before the end of the year.
Yes.
Is that if you're going to make a donation and you want 100% of it to go to people on the ground for water, for medicine, for roofs, for rebuilding, that the way to do that is through the Rotary Foundation, through GoFundMe, and the other one is through Sacred Heart.
Or through chantalhaitimission.wordpress.com, which has the address for Sacred Heart Catholic Church, where no matter which one of these sources
doesn't matter which way,
a tax deduction letter will be returned within the next few weeks, and it will go directly to on-the-ground help.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.